NSA whistleblower William Binney is now saying in a great interview, about a 12, 13-minute interview on RT, that everyone in the U.S. is under virtual surveillance, and this also connected to recent news that text messages that you send, no matter whether you delete them off of your phone, no matter whether you get rid of that phone, no matter whether you cancel your plan altogether, are being kept by cell phone companies for a period of, I think it's a couple of years, Lewis. This is a little bit of video from the RT interview with William Binney, and he says it doesn't matter if you're suspected of anything, just none of this matters. The FBI knows everything you're doing on the internet for 10 years, he says. Take a look at this. This is William Binney, formerly of the NSA.
Years at least.
And it's not just about those who could be planning, who could be a threat to national security, but also those who could be just...
It's everybody. I thought the NARIS device simply takes in the entire line, so it takes all the data. In fact, they advertise. The way they advertise, they can process the lines at session rates, which means 10 gigabit lines. That's the NARIS, not the STA6400, but the... I forget the name of it. There's another device that they have that does that, but it does it.
All right, so in short, everyone's emails being collected, even without your internet provider's authority. Binny is considered one of the best mathematicians, best code breakers in the history of the National Security Agency. He resigned in 2001 specifically because he said he doesn't want to be associated with an organization that is guilty of what he says are violations of the Constitution, including the FBI engaging in widespread and pervasive surveillance through these devices called NARIS, N-A-R-I-S. What do you think about this, Lewis? I don't like it. I find this incredibly troubling, and at the same time, I assume every text message I send and every email I send or receive is being logged somewhere, and if it came down to it, authorities would be able to see it.
Right, and I've had that mindset for a long time, and I have to admit, this doesn't bother me. I assume this is happening, and I accept it. I mean, there's not much we can do about it.
Well, see, I disagree with one half of that. I mean, Natan, I assume it's going on, but it does bother me. And again, it's not because I'm worried that I'm doing something illegal, but this idea that, hey, unless you're doing something wrong, you shouldn't care. The idea that for no reason at all my privacy is being violated, that still troubles me.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of complicated because if you, say, before the existence of this technology, you were to commit a crime in secret, meaning no one found out, you could say to yourself, well, what I did was illegal, but no one's going to find out. Whereas now you could say, what I did was illegal, and someone could easily find out. One has to assume that regardless of whether this is legal or not, it's very unlikely that someone is going to be prosecuted for for a crime they didn't commit. So even though there is a register of all of these emails, it's very unlikely that you're actually going to be prosecuted. And I think you can't deny that.
Unlikely to be prosecuted for a crime they didn't commit. Okay, that's one level, but we've talked a number of times on this show about overcriminalization and the idea that so many things that people are just completely unaware of and have absolutely no malicious intent may be illegal under some kind of mundane statute. They may be misdemeanors or even felonies in some cases. And this is the reason why, if you look at, there's some great videos, great debates on YouTube actually, about whether or not you should ever speak to police, right? If police want to talk to you, you know you weren't involved in whatever crime they want to talk to you about, you want to be helpful, blah, 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 blah. Even if you end up talking to police and you really aren't guilty of whatever they're talking about, you may inadvertently, in talking about an alibi or giving information about something, admit to having done something that, because of overcriminalization, was the breaking of a law. There was absolutely no intent, and simply by giving information, whether it's voluntarily by talking to police or by police reading your email, you may be basically giving proof that you committed crimes you didn't even know existed.
I think it can go both ways. I think having an extensive record of what you've done, what you've said, what you've typed can exonerate you, of course, and I think it can also condemn you.
Right. Now, Paulie on the live stream is also saying that TVs will soon be able to see what you're doing. We're actually doing that story on today's bonus show, and we're going to have some thoughts on that. So please, if you're not getting the bonus show yet, we're going to continue this discussion, and including the TVs that see you, davidpakman.com/membership.
I have one more comment just on this.
Yeah.
Just the idea, it seems to me like really what Dave's beef is with this is a question of enforcement. It seems like you could always be accused of a legal crime that was maybe morally nothing at all, or something that you didn't even know was illegal. Some cop decides to prosecute you for it. That could always happen. This, in theory, will make it easier, but again, it comes down to the way the police and law enforcement enforce it, and not a legal question of what the laws are.
It does, and there's always questions when we're talking about how things will be enforced and that are concerning. So we'll have to talk about that more.